When was the last time that you did absolutely nothing? No phone, no podcast, no music, emails, no scrolling, no solving problems. Just you alone with your own thoughts. For a lot of my clients, high achieving individuals like you and myself, that's one of the most uncomfortable experiences imaginable. And it's not because you and I don't know how to relax. It's that oftentimes we struggle to be. Look, you know how to build, you know how to achieve, you know how to grind, you know how to do to stay busy, you know how to solve problems, check boxes, chase the next goal. But the moment that life gets quiet, something else gets incredibly loud. The self-doubt, the insecurity, the anxiety, the worry, the pressure to keep proving yourself, the fear that you're falling behind. And I was reminded of all of this in a very real way during a recent vacation I took. Because slowing down and being has been something I used to struggle with mightily. And in hindsight, it robbed me of so many joyful experiences in multiple places around the world because I had tied my identity to productivity, to doing, going. And while on vacations in the past, it wasn't work that was the hardest thing to step away from. It was the doing, the constant motion, that identity I had created around always needing to prove myself and be productive. And fortunately, this vacation was a totally different experience. And as I was enjoying absolute nothingness, being present, being grateful and connected on the beach, it spawned so many ideas and insights to put this conversation together for you because I too know that you struggle with this. And maybe you're not necessarily afraid of slowing down to relax. Maybe what it is you're afraid of is what you'll hear when you finally do. So let's talk about it. Welcome back to another episode of the Unstuck High Performer podcast. My name is Paul Salter. I'm a high performance mindset coach, and I help incredibly successful founders, entrepreneurs, CEOs, and executives just like you who are incredibly successful on paper, have achieved so many significant goals, yet on the inside you feel empty, disconnected, anxious, unfulfilled. And there's a stark incongruency between your external success and your inner world. And I help individuals just like you create a sense of alignment, congruency, and purpose beyond achievement. I'm excited for this conversation. Like I alluded to, there have been so many vacations in the past where I've just been a cranky, irritable asshole at times, struggling to be present, anxious, agitated, just needing to do at a time when what I really needed was to be. And I want to talk about that. The core theme that I want to build this conversation around today is that maybe you're not necessarily afraid of slowing down, but again, you're afraid of what's going to come up for you when you do slow down. Because underneath achievement often lives insecurity, loneliness, sadness, shame, fear of not being enough, falling behind, becoming irrelevant, and of course, the voice of imposter syndrome. And your tenacity, your work ethic, simply keeps those voices quiet. That constant state of motion, the doing that you have trained yourself to do and do very well and do all of the time, is simply a form of avoidance, a form of numbing and repressing your truths, those voices and emotions that come up when you do take a moment to slow down and be. And again, you've trained yourself to be this way. And really, the root of this is what you and I have discussed multiple times across this podcast, that there is what I refer to as a destructive mindset program that is always running. And the catalyst for this program is a core belief that you do not feel worthy, deserving, or enough. And as I've shared before, what's so challenging to grasp around these programs, these patterns, this prove it energy, is that in many ways it's helping you. It's the catalyst, it's the fuel, it's the accelerant that allows you to really have this ability to outwork your competition and constantly do and be in motion. Yet underneath it all, the little boy or the little girl within you who didn't feel enough, who didn't get his or her childhood needs met, is continuing to drive the ship, is continuing to be the core decision maker and action taker. And inevitably, that little boy or little girl will run you off the road. There will be some form of, whether we call it implosion, burnout, or explosion, that takes place. And again, if you're running, let's run with this example, with this I need to prove myself energy as the fuel tank under the surface, you've begun to train yourself. You've begun to train your nervous system that movement is safety. Always being on is safe, familiar, predictable. And guess what? Your subconscious has one primary goal, your subconscious and nervous system being used collectively together here, and it's to keep you safe. And what's a recipe for safety? Familiarity, comfortability, and predictability. So the beliefs you've begun to form by never feeling enough as a little boy or little girl is, again, movement is safety, achievement equals your self-worth, productivity equals control, rest equals vulnerability, weakness, stillness equals uncertainty. So the moment you do try to finally stop, your nervous system mistakes this peace, this quiet, this stillness for danger. And that is why vacations can feel incredibly stressful and exhausting, why weekends can feel restless, and why retirement absolutely terrifies so many people. Another way to think about your constant doing, always being on, is like this. Imagine driving everywhere with the music turned on full blast, every day, every minute. And one day, someone turns it off. And you, for perhaps the first time, suddenly hear the engine, the rattling, the strange noises that have been ignored for years. The silence, in this case, didn't create the problem. It simply revealed what was always there. And achievement works the same way because, again, the most successful individuals, I'm not going to say all, but the vast majority of those individuals who achieved extraordinary success and are known for their work ethic, it's trauma-influenced work ethic and patterns at play here. And I use trauma very loosely. It just really to the point of a core need was not met. You found a way to cope and change a belief and a behavior to get that core childhood need met. And it's been the driver for a long time. But as I've shared multiple times before, it's not a sustainable fuel source. It's a potent, dangerous, high burning, high octane, intense fuel source. And it's not the primary fuel source to use for the duration of your career. And this is such a timely conversation for us because not only did I just get back from a wonderful vacation, so many of my clients have already been on or are preparing for upcoming vacations later this summer. And a central theme of conversations with these individuals has been around the anxiety of slowing down, not working, disconnecting, conversations around, do I bring my phone? Do I bring my laptop? Can I put some guidelines in place around email? Can I take work calls? And what's interesting to me, and I share this as someone who struggled with this mightily, is one of the aspirations of entrepreneurship is freedom. Freedom to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, where you want. Financial freedom, time freedom. And as you're on your journey and you're making great money and you do technically have an abundance of flexibility in your time, your scheduling, the thought of actually acting upon that and going and taking the 2-week vacation or taking the 5-day trip and being completely disconnected and detached from the very thing that created the opportunity, it scares the hell out of you. It's almost as if you're afraid to fully live outside of work. And what's most important is just knowing that you could if you really wanted to, but you don't want to because you're afraid. Afraid of the being, the voices, the emotions, the sensations that you'll experience by stepping out of that productivity and high achievement identity and stepping into one that is present, fully connected with your wife, your husband, your children, your surroundings, your environment, the novelty of the experience you're sharing between all of you. Because at that time, not only do you feel lost, uncertain, not knowing what to do with your hands, a good little Ron Burgundy shout out there, it's also the time that those voices, the ones that have been fueling your ambition under conscious awareness for so long, suddenly become so loud, so clear. And maybe there's a few honest truths in there that deep down you are aware of, but continue to ignore and repress over these years. And what I have observed in the past, and many clients who navigate vacation, like, okay, they get to this point where they're courageous, willing, ready, and able to take the vacation. Yet at the end of vacation, they return home completely exhausted, but not in the good way, emotionally, physically, mentally drained. Because what happens is that if they're going on a 7-day vacation, they find a way to drink or numb themselves into oblivion for some or all of the vacation. They are so uncomfortable, anxious by not being able to do and stay within their zone of genius that they just get drunk every day. And here, let me be very clear. I'm not judging you. You can drink as much or as little as you want. I'm pointing out a pattern. If you've taken multiple vacations over the years and still notice that you feel exhausted upon returning, so you've been able to craft this narrative that vacations are a hindrance, they're holding you back, well, I challenge you to observe and reflect on how you've spent that time. Because it's so easy to just doom scroll your way through vacation. It's so easy to continue numbing and avoiding through alcohol and other recreational drugs on vacation. And it feels like, oh, it's the noble thing to do. I've worked so hard. I have the money. I have the time, the freedom, the opportunity. I'm going to go take this elaborate trip. But if you come home absolutely drained, or you navigate that vacation in a state of fear, anxiety, and agitation, it doesn't actually do what you hope and intended it would do all along. Vacations, time off, time away, slowing down. It's meant to help you recharge. It's a period of restoration, rejuvenation, reinvigoration. And a great vacation can absolutely be exhausting, especially physically. You're out hiking, you're exploring the new city, you're racking up tens of thousands of steps. But mentally and emotionally, you should return home clear, invigorated, excited, refreshed. Like your battery's been fully recharged. You're at max capacity, 100%. Yet so many people avoid or miss out on this, and vacation actually becomes a hindrance, and time off becomes an even bigger threat, and actually does become a true challenge and hindrance simply because of your approach. And look, I've done a lot of reflection on this. Most vacations, and I'm going to use just kind of a tropical vacation where there's adequate time and you get to choose how you distribute that time between nothingness and just straight chilling on a beach versus some activity. You get on the catamaran, you go snorkeling, you go scuba diving, you go parasailing, you're exploring this town, you're doing this, you're doing that. There's a balance of the doing and the being within vacation in and of itself. What I've observed, however, is typically the first 24 to 36 hours after arriving at the destination, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's quite easy to be present. Oh, finally, okay, you know what? I know I needed this. I can ease into this. Hey, a couple pina coladas or margaritas on the beach doesn't sound too bad. Let's do it. Beautiful water, warm weather. But come day 2, maybe day 3, it's a little bit of discomfort. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's agitation. And it's there. And maybe you notice it, maybe you don't. Oftentimes it leads to more numbing, repressing, and avoiding because it's so uncomfortable. And deep down, your mind's like, whoa, vacation's supposed to be comfortable. Why am I feeling this way? Let me take the edge off. So maybe you eat more, maybe you drink more, maybe you find another way to numb, to cope, to repress those feelings. And you never actually get adequate time to recharge. Maybe you start to doom scroll. Maybe it's just one call. Maybe it's just, let me check my email. And it just ruins the entire intention of the experience. What I want for you and what you should want is the ability, the courage, the strength to spend 5, 7, 10 days off recharging. And again, I'm not just saying sit your butt on the sand for all 5, 7, 10 days. There can be plenty of activity. In fact, I encourage getting outdoor, connecting into earth, life, new environments, your people, your loved ones, grounding into nature, the environment around you, rather than constantly connecting to your Instagram feed, your email, your client calls, your CRM. Your greatest clarity, creativity, and insights appear when you're not doing, when you're in the being. And I think one of the mistakes that so many high achievers make is that they believe, and I have an imagination you believe this too, if I'm not working, I'm falling behind. But think about it. When do your best ideas actually show up? Rarely do they start showing up when you've been staring at your laptop for the 8th straight hour. They show up in the shower, on a walk, during a workout, while driving, absent of the loud music I alluded to earlier, while sitting on the beach, while playing with your kids right before you fall asleep. Why? Because your brain finally has space. Your conscious cognitive load is finally so low, it gives your subconscious full opportunity and energy reserves to do its thing. And another way to think about this, imagine your conscious mind is the CEO. Your subconscious mind is an organization of thousands of incredibly talented, intelligent employees. What happens when the CEO is constantly interrupting, holding meetings, sending emails, demanding immediate answers, changing direction? The employees never have time to actually solve the problems that they're being asked to solve. But when the CEO leaves the office, the team gets to work, connections get made, patterns emerge, solutions surface, and then seemingly out of nowhere, an employee walks into the CEO's office early one morning and says, "Hey, we figured it out." That's exactly how your subconscious works. When you stop consciously forcing solutions, your subconscious continues to work. It's always working. But when you give it the space to work its magic, to tap into all of its potential and powers, clarity, wisdom, insights, creativity emerges like never before. It's a beautiful thing. In fact, just on this vacation, I had a couple downloads that I know will prove to be absolutely pivotal for me in my business, as well as in my personal life. And I'm excited. I'm clear. I'm invigorated. I came home from vacation refreshed, recharged. And going back to that analogy and kind of that fear that if I stop working and slow down, I'll fall behind, let me remind you that your brain is always working. Just because you're not actively thinking about a problem doesn't mean your brain isn't. And listen, you today are in the role you're in because of your ability to problem solve. And the more you rise up the corporate ladder or the more you scale your company, the more you will be rewarded for solving bigger, more complex problems. You need space, stillness, silence, being to bring all of your collective creativity, clarity, insight, and talent to the table to solve these bigger, more complex problems. When you take time to slow down and be, rather than focusing on one specific task relentlessly, your brain finally has the space to more effectively connect ideas that previously seemed unrelated. It's better able to recognize patterns, to reorganize memories, to filter information, and come up with new, novel, creative solutions. And this is why breakthroughs often feel like they arrive out of nowhere. They didn't. It's just your subconscious has been working the whole time, and now you finally given a moment for you to breathe, your conscious mind to shut off, and finally all of that clarity and hard work to emerge. So I want to share some action steps and recommendations for you to get the most out of any upcoming vacations, as well as just to start building in some form of consistent being, stillness, silence. You've heard me say many times, I'm a big fan of a daily practice of silence and solitude, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of just nothingness. And you can call it meditation, you can call it breath work, you can call it being, you can call it napping. Lay down on your floor, lay down on your couch, your chair, even your bedroom. 5, 10 minutes a day and just be. And notice, get curious. Every week, I challenge you to participate in a 24-hour digital detox. I've been doing this for years every single Saturday. I've been doing it with my clients for years with incredible results. And it's simply for 24 hours, no devices, no phone, no iPad, no Kindle, no TV. So no social media, no email, no ESPN. That's been the hardest one for me. Nothing. Get off your phone, get off the screens. Just be, disconnect. Be with your family, your loved ones, nature, your golf clubs, the gym. Simply be. And if you're planning for a vacation, if fully disconnecting from email and work is not a thing, here's what I encourage you to do. The first 48 hours and the last 48 hours. Total disconnection. No emails, no phone calls, no social media. None. Absolutely none. Just be. Go do like you've never done before. This is where you get involved in the vacation activities, the snorkeling, the scuba, the walking and exploring the new town, the ATVs, the museums, whatever it is. Go get lost in another world, another environment, another culture. But perhaps most importantly, I encourage you to simply just carry into your next opportunity to be, whether it be vacation or a long weekend. Carry a curiosity like you've never done before. What does it feel like? Why do I feel this way? For me, so I arrived in Mexico on a Sunday. No phone, no email. I didn't bring my laptop. Huge win for me. Because part of me wanted to capitalize on airport time just to catch up, prepare for the week when I got home. Nope, no laptop. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, phone's just on airplane mode. Double checking. If I got a text, just checking in on my son. But that's it. No social media. And finally, Wednesday evening, I opened up Instagram. Out of habit, I told myself I'd go 72 hours without it. And within 60 seconds, there was just kind of this yuck feeling that washed over me. Just, okay, yep, done. Didn't need this. Wish I hadn't done it. Let me go back to enjoying my beautiful view on the balcony and hanging out with the iguana that seemed to make home just outside my railing for the week. And I got curious. What was I missing then? Nothing. Nothing was missing. It was just a little bit of discomfort, and I'm just always used to having some connection and ties to my work, to prospective clients, messaging, whatever it may be. I'm really excited for you to begin bringing this curiosity alongside a dose of courage to sit with any and all emotions and voices that arise as you continue to find a source of quietness, a place of stillness, silence, and being. And if there's one thing I hope you can take away from today's conversation, it's simply this. The goal isn't to become any less ambitious. The goal is to become the kind of individual who can stop, slow down, without falling apart. Because if slowing down feels threatening to you, if a vacation makes you anxious, a quiet evening feels uncomfortable, or you constantly find yourself reaching for your phone, your laptop, or just another task to avoid being alone with your thoughts, that isn't a character flaw. It's information. And if you listen, you'll quickly learn that it's your nervous system telling you there's something beneath the surface that is asking for your attention. And let me remind you, you don't have to spend the rest of your life outrunning it. The greatest freedom isn't building a business that gives you financial independence. It's building a mind that allows you to experience peace, whether you're producing or just straight chilling. And if today's episode felt uncomfortably personal, if you found yourself thinking, ugh, this is definitely me, I want you to know that you're exactly who I work with, and all of the learned beliefs and behaviors that are currently plaguing you from being present on vacation, they're all learned, and they can be unlearned. And I help ambitious founders, executives, entrepreneurs, and CEOs unlearn the subconscious patterns that keep them stuck, always on, overworking, overthinking, proving, constantly chasing, so that they can perform at the highest levels without sacrificing peace, their relationships, or losing themselves in the process. And if you're ready to do that type of work, I'd love to have a conversation. You can simply use the link in the show notes to apply for one-on-one private coaching with me so we can have that conversation. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found this conversation valuable, share it. Share it with somebody in your inner circle who you know is struggling, who is anxious about an upcoming trip, or never takes the time off because they're always running from themselves, running from their fears, their truths. Share this episode. And if you haven't done so already, it takes 30 seconds to leave a genuine rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to today's show. Thank you again for listening. Make today great, and I'll catch you in Thursday's episode.